everybody, welcome back to another daily creative challenge. I'm Jesús Ramirez. In today's video, or today's stream rather, not a video, I guess it'll be a video if you watch the recording, but in today's stream, we will learn how to create a custom Photoshop brush from a photo. And that's going to allow you to create special effects really easy. It's going to be a really cool effect. You will need to download a file so that you can follow along, and that's going to be available for you in the Daily Creative Challenge page. If you go into behance.net/daily creative challenge, you can scroll down until you get to the brushes challenge, and you can download the template file. It's a Photoshop file that we're going to use for today's example. But the most important thing is that you're going to learn the techniques to create a brush from any photo that you like. Before we get started, I just quickly want to mention the Daily Creative Challenge page. Make sure that you go there, behance.net/daily creative challenge, and make sure that you click on this big blue button, and also make sure that anything that you create during these daily creative challenges, you upload into Behance using the keyword PS Daily Challenge. Notice that PS is in capital letters and Daily Challenge is in lowercase letters. So the reason that you want to do that is so that we can search for that tag and see all the work that you have been doing during all these live streams. So as you can see, you have all these different submissions. We've done comic book effects, we've done movie posters, we've done album covers, we've done a whole bunch of cool things. And let me change the sorting to most recent, and maybe we'll see some object removals. So I think this one might be an object removal, I'm not sure. So let me click on that and see. Yeah, so this person was able to, it looks like, remove these cars using the techniques that we learned yesterday. But anyway, the point is that you can download or upload your work onto behance.net. So I highly recommend doing that. Make sure that you use the tag PS Daily Challenge. Also, make sure that you, and actually instead of just going back, I'll just type in the actual URL, Daily Creative Challenge. And make sure that you scroll to the very bottom of the page and join the Discord community. You can also go into this URL that you see there and join the Discord community, which will allow you to get access into this page where you can submit your work on the design feedback section. And I'm there along with the Adobe team and other community members. So I highly recommend that you check that out. As you can see, this is all the work that people have been submitting all throughout last week and this week. So make sure that you come in here and submit your work. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of stuff. So I highly recommend you joining that page. Once again, if you haven't already, make sure that you download the template for today. It's found under behance.net Daily Creative Challenge, and you can click on get the template to download it and follow along with us. So I'm going to go into Photoshop, and you should have this file. It's just a photo of a cloud. And what we're going to do today is make this into a custom brush that is going to allow us to create fog, smoke, mist, and a whole bunch of other things that we can add to our composites. You can follow along with this image, and then we're going to apply the brush to a photo. And you can use any photo that you like. I recommend using either the album cover that we created on the first challenge, or the double exposure movie poster that we created on day 3 and on day number 4 where we added the text, or yesterday's challenge where we removed people from a photo. So you can use those images or any image that you like to apply the effect that we're going to make today. So let's get started with today's example. So we're going to work with this image, and as I said, it's just a photo of a cloud, nothing else. This is what you should have on that template file that you downloaded from the Daily Creative Challenge page. And we're going to make this into a brush. And just so that your mind understands better what's going on behind the scenes, we're going to desaturate this image. We're going to remove the color just to make it easier to understand. To desaturate an image, this is an actual layer, it's not a smart object. if you have a smart object or something that's linked to the Creative Cloud, make sure that you rasterize the layer so that it's an actual layer. So there's no icon on the bottom right in the thumbnail. It's just a regular pixel layer. So when you have a regular pixel layer, you can remove all the color from that layer simply by pressing Control-Shift-U. That's Command-Shift-U on the Mac, or you can go into Image, Adjustments, Desaturate, and let me find that. That's here somewhere. See, I don't even know exactly where it is because I'm so used to the keyboard shortcut. So it's Image, Adjustments, Desaturate to make this into a black and white image. So what you want to do now is think of this image as that's Command Shift U on the Mac. I have the sound coming in from my speaker here. I had to turn that off. What you want to do is think of this as a piece of paper, right? So we're going to make this into a brush, and we got to think of it as a piece of paper. And with a piece of paper, you have a white background, obviously, and then whatever we paint on is black. That'll be the ink. So we want to make the background of this image white and the foreground black, and that will be our ink. But we have the opposite. The clouds are white and the sky is dark. So we want to invert that so that the image has a white background and a black foreground, or a dark foreground at the very least. So to invert an image, you can go into Image, Adjustment, and Invert, or you can simply use the keyboard shortcut, Control-I, Command-I on the Mac, and that inverts the image. So now we have a black foreground and a bright background, but we want to make it white because white will make it completely transparent. So it's almost the opposite as a layer mask in some ways. In a layer mask, white reveals, black conceals. When we're making a brush, you have to think about the black areas as the areas that you're going to keep, and the white areas as the areas that you're not going to keep. So that's why I like using the paper on ink example, because it kind of helps you think about what you're doing with actual paint. You have white paper and you have black ink. So that's what I'm trying to do here. So I'm going to make the background white. I'm going to go into Image, Adjustment, Levels, and I have this levels adjustment here, and I'm going to click and drag this to the left. This is the white point. This is the white point of the image. So how bright is, what pixels are bright? So I want every pixel that's this shade of gray and brighter to be white. So that's why I'm dragging this point to the left. See that? And I can adjust this middle point and adjust the contrast of the image, and also the black point. So everything from this point on to the left will be 100% black. And that's what I want. And actually, you know what? I think I may want even brighter pixels. I'm noticing a lot of dark shades of gray right under the cloud. So that's what I'm looking at. And I'm just going to press OK. So now I can start working with this image of this cloud, and we're going to make that into a brush. And we can make that into a brush by simply going into Edit, Define Brush Preset, and that will create our brush. And actually this window comes up and you can give it a name. So I'm just going to call it cloud/smoke/fog, and it can be whatever you want. The name really doesn't matter, but you can have a brush based on that cloud. So you can see that there. See that, how that fits right over the cloud, and that's my brush. What I'm going to do now is simply fill the background with white so that we could continue working with this layer, and we're just going to use this as our piece of paper where we're going to test the brush that we just made. And I'm looking at the chat, and I'm just seeing that a lot of people are joining us, so I just want to say hi to the usual people. Every time I look at the chat, I see Kata Jones, I see Claudia from Print My Soul, Sam, Anel, Anna, names I'm always seeing in the chat, so thank you so much for being with me here once again, being here with me once again. I see, Lee's here. Hi, Lee Cooper. Happy day 6, everybody. Anna, once again. So yeah, thank you guys for being here, and I really appreciate the support. But anyway, so we have our brush, and with this brush, we can paint, of course, right? But that really doesn't do much, like what is that really doing? Luckily for us, Photoshop gives us the tools or settings to adjust how we lay paint on the piece of paper. So first I'm going to make the brush much smaller by using the bracket keys on the keyboard. Left bracket makes the brush smaller, right bracket makes the brush larger. But you know, if you don't remember the keyboard shortcuts, that's totally fine. You can click on this drop down and adjust the size of the brush by using the slider. But I recommend learning the keyboard shortcuts because it's just so much faster to do. Left bracket, right bracket key. And those are the brackets right next to the letter P on the keyboard. But anyway, so we have our brush, right? And that doesn't look much like smoke, smog, or anything of the sort. So what we want to do now is adjust the settings of this brush so that we can create a special effect. And the way that you do that is by clicking on this icon here, which is the brush settings, and it brings up the brush settings panel. And we're going to first look at the brush tip, and we can adjust the spacing of the brush. Keep an eye at the preview window down here. The preview window shows you exactly what we're doing to the brush when we adjust the settings. So now when I paint, you see a different effect. And what you want to do is keep adjusting the settings until it starts looking like smoke or fog or whatever effect you're going for. In this case, we'll start with fog. So I'm going to reduce the spacing a little bit. Then I'm going to click on Shape Dynamics, and that allows us to control the shape of the brush stroke. So I can adjust the size jitter, and I'm going to just crank it up all the way to 100%, and that just changes each brush stroke into a different size so that they don't look exactly the same. See that? See how now they're all different sizes? You compare that to the line above. So it just adds a little bit of randomness to the size. I also want to add randomness to the angle. That way, they all rotate at a different angle whenever I paint, and you'll compare that to the line above. So now things are starting to look much more random, much more organic, and that's what I want. I'm going to fill with white. White is my background color. See, right here? White is my background color. To fill with white, just press Control Backspace. That's Command Delete on the Mac. But the reason I'm filling it with white is so that I can have a fresh piece of paper and continue working with this. Now I'm going to adjust the scattering. It just helps you scatter the clouds a bit. So I'm just going to adjust a tiny little bit of scattering and increase the count, which will give me more of those clouds. So when I paint, this is what I'm getting. So it's looking much better. What I'm going to do now is change the transfer so that they all have different opacity now. See how they all have different opacity? So again, that's creating the randomness that we need to create the special effect of creating smoke, smog, and things of that sort. So I'm going to adjust the opacity jitter. I don't know if I want it all the way to 100%, maybe 75% or so. And when I paint, you can see that it's just a little bit darker. And that's what I want. At this point, I think I may need to go back into the brush tip and maybe reduce the spacing a bit more. And yeah, I think this is more of the effect that I want. So now I can go into any image. I'm gonna go and I guess I'll try first the image that we used yesterday for the people removal technique. If you weren't here for that, go back and watch the replays. I think you'll highly enjoy this one. It just shows you how to remove people from a crowded scene in Photoshop. You can do it both manually with the clone stamp tool or using a technique that requires multiple images. But anyway, I'm going to create a new layer, and if I just wanted to create smoke or fog, in this scene, I could just create a large brush and just start painting like so. And that might be a little too much, so I'll undo that, Control Z, Command Z, and paint again. So I actually made a mistake. I didn't switch my foreground color to white, which is what I wanted, but no problem. Since I painted with black, I know that I can invert those colors and make them to white really easy by pressing Control I, Command I on the Mac. And that inverts it to white, so which is what I wanted originally. I just forgot to switch the foreground and background colors. But pressing Control I, Command I on the Mac inverts those colors. You can also go into Image, Adjustment, and Invert, and the keyboard shortcuts there. Control I, Command I on the Mac. And what I can do now is simply reduce the opacity, and I can even apply a color to that if I want to. I can create a hue and saturation adjustment layer, clip it to the layer below, and I can click on Colorize, and I can select the color that I want. So I'll select a blue color just so that it's, I guess, easier to see, and adjust the lightness, and you can see how I can just apply whatever color I want to that fog, adjust the opacity of the color, and also the opacity of the entire layer. Something that probably wasn't obvious is that I clicked on this icon here to make a clipping mask. Notice that if I don't click on that icon, I affect the entire layer. But if I click on this icon, I create a clipping mask, which means that the contents of that effect will only be applied to the layer directly below it. That's what this down pointing arrow is indicating. So make sure that you click on the clipping mask so that you only target the layer below. So what we can do now is create a different effect. For example, we could maybe add some smoke. Maybe there's a fire or something in the background, and to do that I'm just going to reduce the size of my brush by using the left bracket key, and I can just start painting my smoke. See that? See how I'm painting my smoke? Maybe make it larger up here. See that? And we're working with a layer, and what that means is that we can adjust that layer independently from anything else. This is a way of working destructively, and it's what you should always do in Photoshop. And what you need to do is make sure that you click on this icon, on the lock transparent pixels icon, or just hit the question mark on the keyboard, which is a / key really. The keyboard shortcut is the / key, but it's the same as a question mark. And that allows you to lock the transparent pixels or unlock the transparent pixels. See that? You can see that icon there. And basically what I'm doing is I'm making sure that I can only paint on pixels that I've already painted on. So I can't paint on these other pixels, but if I select white, I can paint on the pixels that I already painted on. So that's a good way of painting on top of layers that you already painted on and nothing else. That way you can create effects like this one. So I just painted on the right side, and I can go into Edit, Fade Brush Tool, and I can fade that last command. So this window comes up, and I can just fade that last command. See that? See how I can just fade it from 100% to 0% or anywhere in between. So that is something that you can do to create more interesting effects. You can even paint with a different color, maybe like a yellow color, and just get the edges there. And once again, go into Edit, Fade Brush Tool, and fade that in accordingly. So it's a really, really cool way of creating techniques, creating special effects using Photoshop and photos. So you can turn your photos into brushes. You can use photos of anything that you want. For example, I know that I have a brush of some birds here. So let me just type in birds. Actually, I'll type the word flock. This is my Creative Cloud account, and I downloaded this image of pigeons. So if I double click on it to open it, it'll open up, and I can go into image. Actually, I'll make it smaller. So image adjustments, actually image size. And I can just make it like 1,000 pixels wide, and then I can turn that into a brush. So define brush preset and press OK, and now I have birds. So I can add birds to my scene. So I can create a new layer, and I can paint with black to paint my birds. So see, I have birds. So that's a really, really cool way of just adding those little extra elements to your images to enhance them and make them look much, much better. I recommend trying it out, trying out this brushes technique with the album cover that you've already created, with the movie poster, or with the object removal image. Remember to upload anything that you do onto the Discord page on the design feedback section. If you don't know how to get there, you can follow this link to get there, and make sure that you go on design feedback and upload that. You can also upload your project onto Behance. Make sure that you click on create a project, and you can upload your image. I haven't uploaded this image, or saved this image. Let me just save it really quick so you can see how you can save an image. When you're done with your image, you can just go into File, Export, Export As, select a file type like JPEG, click on Export, and I'll just call it smoke. save it on my desktop so that I know where it is. And from the Behance page, you can, sorry about that, I'm having a little trouble bringing up my browser. There it is. You can click on upload file, upload it onto your Behance page. And the most important thing that you want to do is add that keyword. You can give it a title, so I'll just call it smoke in this case. Fine tune the way your preview window looks, this little icon here, and click on crop and continue. And this is the important thing, under this coverability, make sure that you add the keyword. If you forget what the keyword is, you can go on to behance.net/daily creative challenge, and the keyword that you want to add is PS daily challenge, PS in capital letters, of course, and just put that keyword in there, press the comma key, and click on the publish button when you're done filling everything else out. So I really look forward to seeing what you guys are going to do with the Daily Creative Challenge. Thank you so much for being with me one more time. Once again, thank you Sam, Humberto, Valentin, Ralph, Kyle, Anna, Claudia, everybody for being with me. Once again, I really, really appreciate it. I hope to see you guys on Discord, and make sure that you upload your images. I would love to see what kind of creative things you use to create brushes. Also, you might want to type either on Discord or on the chat what type of images you're going to use to create a brush. That way you can help everybody else with ideas. Yeah, thank you so much for being with me one more time. I'll be back again tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. I look forward to seeing you all here. Stick around. Thanks so much. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.